Today I'm going to talk about flax, flaxseed, and flaxseed oil, and about the most famous cancer treatment program that involves these. So flax is it's a small flower, a small blue flower. It doesn't look like much, but it's given rise to two very important products. One of them is linen, and sometimes the oil of the flax is called linseed oil, and the other one is flaxseed and flaxseed oil, which is the food grade of the flax. And people eat the seeds, they press it to get the oil, and it's used as a feed for animals and also for human consumption. Well, nobody really thought much about it until fairly recently. Scientists started to look at this, and they found a very interesting thing, that within the flax seed and the flaxseed oil, there are compounds called lignans, and these lignans in the body will convert into substances that block estrogen, block the female hormone estrogen. And so this is very fascinating to scientists, because that mechanism of blocking estrogen is identical really to the idea behind the drug tamoxifen, and indirectly to the whole drug category called aromatase inhibitors. So it appears that within this common, inexpensive plant is lurking basically a drug that is extremely effective in about 80% of the cases of breast cancer. Well, of course, tamoxifen, if you look this up at drugs.com or any of the, the common websites that deal with effects and side effects, you'll see that there is a very scary list of side effects associated with tamoxifen. An old drug that's probably done a lot of good for a lot of people, but it also has many bad effects for people. And the worst of which is that it can actually cause cancer. If people take tamoxifen for more than 5 years, the risk of endometrial cancer, cancer of the uterus, goes up somewhat, and that's a very scary prospect. You're taking a drug to prevent cancer that actually, in some cases, causes cancer. So flax and flaxseed oil have none of those side effects. There are some gastrointestinal issues that sometimes people rarely have with it, but most people really don't have any negative consequences to taking it. I eat it myself every day. That's because I put it in a kind of homemade cracker that I make that has no wheat or flour in it. It's purely a seed cracker, and I put flax and I grind the flax seed in a little coffee grinder and make up these delicious crackers. But for most people, there's nothing negative about it, and it's very inexpensive. I mean, it's only like, I forget what, maybe 10 or 20 cents an ounce, something like that. The flaxseed oil is a little bit more, and nowadays you would find that usually in the cooler section of the health food store, the food co-op, or the supermarket, because you want to have it very fresh, and so they refrigerate it in order for you to feel assured that you're getting a super fresh product. So there is a scientific basis for the use of flaxseed, and I'm very excited, and I congratulate the scientists in Italy and Portugal and other countries who are doing the research on this. I think they found something truly remarkable in a common food, which doesn't happen every day, but it's exciting to see. So knowing this research made me want to go back and re-examine an old treatment for cancer called the Budwig diet or the Budwig protocol. I had stayed away from this diet, this protocol, and I'll tell you why. There are so many misstatements about Budwig and about the diet that you find on the internet and in common books that it kind of made me shy away, frankly. I've reconsidered this because of the fact that now there is scientific evidence to support the use of flax and flaxseed oil in cancer. There is laboratory evidence for this. But it's a fascinating history with Budwig. She was born, I think it was 1906, around that time, and she only died a few years ago. She lived to be, I think, 95 years and spent her entire life in Germany, and had a job in a laboratory that analyzed fats. And so she came to some conclusions about fats, and basically it was that people needed what are called polyunsaturated fatty acids, PUFAs. And her recommendation for the freshest form of those would not be like fish oil, because there's such a high risk of it being rancid, but freshly ground flax seeds and freshly pressed flax oil, which makes sense, right? I mean, they're called essential fatty acids for a reason. You need them in your diet. And then she suggested that you mix the flaxseed oil with cottage cheese, which sounds kind of weird, but in her reasoning, the cottage cheese contains a certain sulfur-containing compounds, and these protect the polyunsaturated fatty acids as they go into the body and where they're used for the health of the structure of our cells. It just makes sense. I can't say that I'm an expert on essential fatty acids, but there was nothing in her theory in that part of the theory that didn't seem plausible, at least to me. And so you're supposed to mix this flaxseed oil with the cottage cheese. Then you've got the mixture of the essential fatty acids with the sulfur, and you eat that, and you sprinkle some ground flax seeds on top of that. I've done this. I didn't find it very tasty at all. I mean, there's something about the flaxseed oil that's, to me, it's a little bit strong in flavor, but it's palatable, and so that's the core of her program. The problem was and is, I think, that then people took that plausible theory of health benefit from this combination, and they created what I would say would be a whole mythology around the person of Johanna Budwig. It's almost cult-like in some of its ways. I mean, and there's thousands and thousands of people who are into this, buying the books about it and joining the discussion groups online, and participating in this movement. And when I look at that objectively, in the way a scientist would look at it, I see some real flaws in the argument. I say this with all respect, because you can gather from the first part of my discussion that, I'm quite impressed with the data that's accumulated for the health effects of flax and flaxseed oil. But one of the things that's commonly said about her is that she was a great scientist. Somebody, I think, called her the grand dame of science or something like that, and that she was a leading European scientist and physicist and chemist and so forth. The essential tool for doing medical research online is PubMed. PubMed is an index of 28 million journal articles going back to the 1930s, some cases maybe the 1920s, and with the more modern articles you usually get access, at least you get an abstract and you get access to the article itself. So I anticipated some really interesting times reading Budwig's scientific papers, because after all, she was supposedly the grand dame of among scientists. And it's quite extraordinary, because there are only 4 articles by J. Budwig in PubMed, and none of them deal with cancer, and they're all in German, which is okay, but the journals that she wrote for, these 4 journals, mostly defunct now, so there's no chance of me getting to see those articles, but they wouldn't particularly interest me anyway, because they're not about cancer. So how can you be a great scientist and only have 4 articles, peer-reviewed journal articles to your name? It's impossible. So obviously the people who are saying this, they may like her, they may love her, they may think she was the greatest genius of the 20th century, but it's an extreme exaggeration to say that she had a standing among the great scientists. You know, we know what great scientists are, and she wasn't among them. The other thing that you see commonly said about her on the internet and in books is that she was nominated for the Nobel Prize, some people say 6 times, some people say 7 times, to which I would say, so what? Every year the Nobel Prize Committee sends out, by their own website, they send out thousands, I think something like 3,000 invitations to academics and politicians around the world asking for their nominations for the Nobel Prize. And I think I saw a figure that there were, at their website, there's like a search engine to find, you know, nominees and nominators. And they said there were, in that search engine, there was something like 22,000 people who had been nominated for the Nobel Prize. It means nothing, nothing at all. It just means that perhaps as few as one person thought she was terrific and put her name in for the nomination, and that's it. There's nothing more to it than that. So if the best they can come up with is that she was nominated 7 times or 70 times for the Nobel Prize, it doesn't mean anything, except she had a fan who had access to the Nobel, you know, nomination process. And by the way, we're not even sure that that ever happened, but let's assume that it did. So these are the kinds of things that kind of throw me, because we have so little real accurate information about the flaxseed as a treatment that you always want to make sure that at least what's being said about a person or about a treatment is absolutely accurate. And this is not. This is highly exaggerated. The other thing is that there are no studies. There's no track record of clinical studies to substantiate the effectiveness in cancer of using the combination of flaxseed oil and cottage cheese. What you have are anecdotes, and hundreds of them maybe, if you really want to go looking for them. So I did try to track down a few, and what I found was, like in the case of the person who founded the Yahoo group on flaxseed, you know, that the person was also at the same time taking conventional medical treatment. So the person feels better, gets better, or feels better, but then that could be fully explained by the conventional treatment that they were taking. And this is a fairly typical thing. It's hard to sort through unsubstantiated anecdotes. Would it be better to have a serious case series, meaning that scientists went over the cases and verified that the effects were due to the cottage cheese and the flaxseed oil instead of due to the conventional treatment that the person was taking, or some other alternative treatment? So that's a typical criticism, and it's a valid criticism. We can't really say that a treatment is working if the other treatments the person is taking would also have created the same effects. So where does it leave us? I think, you know, there's very little reason not to take the flaxseed and the flaxseed oil. I think the data is slowly accumulating that there is health benefit to doing so, and I'm going to try again to add in the flaxseed to the cottage cheese. I don't have breast cancer, but you know, it's something that looks interesting. I don't see much of a downside to it unless I gag on the linseed oil or the flaxseed oil. But the upside, of course, would be a prevention of cancer. And in the data, in the scientific papers, there's mention of other cancer types being responsive to this treatment as well. And out of curiosity and also a desire to possibly help myself, yes, I think I will try to do it. On the other hand, I would not, as Dr. Budwig urged people to, I would not neglect doing any effective conventional treatment. where the side effects of the treatment were tolerable, let's say. So I don't see this as, at this point, as being a viable alternative treatment, but I do think that it could be an effective complementary treatment, which one could use alongside other things as a way of fighting cancer. So that's where I come out. I'd say it's sort of a yellow light in the sense that it's still a bit of caution. You should be aware that there's no proof of its effectiveness in terms of treating cancer, much less advanced cancer. But it's interesting, and it's non-toxic, and it's not expensive. So there's really not too many reasons not to do it. Well, till next time, for Moss Reports, this is Ralph Moss.